Hello and welcome everyone to AI Innovation in Claris FileMaker, transforming your business processes. It's great to see everyone joining us today. So we're going to start off with some quick introductions while we're waiting for everyone to get in the webinar. My name is Maria Thompson. I'm the digital marketing specialist at DB Services, and I will be moderating today's webinar and then guiding our Q&A session at the end. I'll also be throwing some polls your way, so be on the lookout for those during the presentation. So a little bit about DB Services. We are a Claris Platinum partner, and we have been the FileMaker Growth Partner of the Year in the Americas for the past 7 years in a row. We've worked with hundreds of clients, large and small, to develop efficient and effective low-code custom apps. Our mission is to make organizations more efficient and effective through digital transformations while offering superior service and exceptional expertise. And you can visit us at dbservices.com. So now I will go ahead and turn it over to our presenter, Sam.
Everybody, I'm Sam. I'm a senior application developer here at DB Services. I'm a certified FileMaker developer, and I've been working in FileMaker and at DB Services since 2021. I have a couple of hobbies in my free time. I help coach a VEX robotics team, if any of you are familiar with that organization here in Indianapolis. I enjoy running and mountain biking in my free time. Here's just a picture of me at a competition that we had at the state championship here this past year. And another picture of me. As you can see, I need to get a little bit better at the mountain biking thing. So before we jump into it here, we're just going to go through a quick overview of what we're going to do today. So we're going to have an AI overview. What is AI? What's it good for? We're going to jump into a little bit of some different types of AI. How it's relevant to most of you, right, in the small to medium-sized business market. And then we're going to show some demos of AI actually being used in FileMaker to do some kind of cool things. So we're going to show some report generation. We're going to show some code generation outside of FileMaker, just is useful for any of you that are developers here. We'll show a chat assistant that we've built inside of a FileMaker file, some document summarization for maybe some of your internal documentation. And then all of this is going to kind of be facilitated by some integrations with LLMs that's been made a lot easier with some of the recent updates we've gotten from Claris. Before we jump into it, we'll just throw up a quick poll. Do you currently use AI in your tech stack at all? So go ahead and throw that in the chat, and I think Maria's going to have a poll show up here. So I will pause for just a second, but yeah, just let us know in the chat if you have any details. I think it's just a simple yes or no in the poll as well. So we'd love to have that information. Yep, David, no AI. Kim, no. Yep, so we'll get into it here in a second. A lot of small and medium-sized businesses haven't quite adopted it yet, but hopefully we'll show you some cool ways to do that. But we'll kind of jump into that here in a second. So before we get into anything, practical, we'll just kind of talk about what is AI. You'll hear, you've probably seen this a million times the last couple of years, and we're going to boil it down to something really simple for you here. So historically, computing was kind of first used to do things faster than people. Then it was used to do things that people couldn't do, whether due to scale or complexity. In this new age of AI, think of problems that are good to solve with AI are problems that traditionally required humans. So not necessarily computers could do better or things that humans couldn't do, but things that we have traditionally thought of as needing human intelligence. That's kind of how you should think about problems that can be solved with AI going forward here. I'll do a quick synopsis of some of our the types we're going to go through. We'll go through these in a little bit more detail, but just so you guys have a frame of reference of some of the AI tools that have come out in the past couple of years and how to think about these. Generative AI, these are tools that are actually creating things from prompts typically. Think of your ChatGPTs, your Perplexities. That second line are like image generation tools, DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. Predictive AI, these are taking historic data and making future predictions based on that data. So Salesforce Einstein, IBM Watson are common examples. And then another category is perceptive AI that we'll talk a little bit about. These are your kind of OCR tools, your document intelligence, even things like dictation tools where you're talking, right? It's doing perceptive work that we traditionally would think of as only being done by humans. I just got the results of the poll. It looks like most of the people here aren't using AI in their day-to-day tech stack. So hopefully we'll show you some cool stuff here on how you can start to integrate that into your workflows. Here's just some information from Microsoft that kind of relates to small and medium-sized businesses' investment in AI. In 2023, about a third of businesses made some sort of investment in AI, and in 2024, 71% of companies are plan to start investing or are continuing to invest. So there's a lot of forward momentum in the space here, which is, I would imagine, why you're all here. Of the companies that have adopted AI technology in their organizations, 84% have said that it's been positive. And of those, 40%, there's an average productivity increase of 40%. So there's good reason people are getting into this, right? Everyone, or most people that are adopting in their organization are seeing real value benefits. So just having said that, we'll open up another poll here. Given I know we said most people don't use AI in their tech stack. What are you? I know we have some maybe business owners in here, some FileMaker developers, some people that are just FileMaker users. So feel free to throw what you are in the chat here and in the poll, and we'll review that in a minute. Just some more kind of information on AI in small and medium businesses. So when Microsoft did a survey, 57% of small and medium-sized businesses considered the AI talent of their workforce strong. So that's of people that are already using AI in their organization. They consider their employees to be kind of adept with that technology. And most surveyed have some sort of employee training. So as AI starts to get bigger, right, you want your employees to be proficient in the technology and also just have some idea of how to use it. And then some of the main use cases for AI in small to medium businesses, customer service, things like chatbots that can interact with customers, answer frequently asked questions along those lines. Just general operational efficiency, whether this is summarizing data or generating reports, things like that. We'll show some of these in the demo here in just a second. Content generation. So this is things like some of those image generation tools for marketing purposes, things like that. Yeah, and it looks like just over half of our participants are FileMaker developers. But other than that, it's pretty split between executives, IT, just general FileMaker users. So it's really great to see. So this is a chart from McKinsey that just shows kind of some of the general use cases where AI is being used right now and kind of what companies are prioritizing. So like I mentioned a moment ago, customer-facing chatbots are a big thing, right? So we'll show kind of an internal training tool here in a minute in FileMaker. But a lot of that is kind of your text, kind of ChatGPT-like interfaces, but kind of integrated with your company data. Data collection analysis is a big one, right? So automatic generation of reports, we'll show something there that we can show that a little bit. Document generation, a lot of this falls into the generative side, but we'll show a few different tools here in a minute. Yeah, and then just in the chat, if you're currently using AI with FileMaker specifically, we'd love to hear how you're using it. I'd throw up a poll here too, just yes or no, but we'd love to see specific use cases any of you have that are using AI in FileMaker and yeah. Amazing. All right, so we went through some of the types of AI a little bit before. We're going to kind of dive into those a little bit deeper here and maybe just kind of present some use cases that maybe you look at one of these and say, oh, hey, maybe I could use that, right? So perceptive AI, these are things that are doing analysis work, right? Perception of different things, whether that be documents, whether that be images, whether that be just text. Some possible use cases for that, right? Reading and entering vendor invoices into FileMaker, right? So pulling in an invoice, sending that to some OCR tool, and then turning that into data in your FileMaker system, cutting down on some data entry time. Along a similar line, right? Job closeout forms and intake forms. Another spot where a perceptive AI tool would be useful just to save some time on data entry. We've seen use cases for visual quality control, right? So maybe off a production line, taking photos of something, and you can train AI models to identify flaws in specific items or runs. And even inventory management, where we can take photos of items instead of scanning barcodes to maybe make that process a little bit less seamless, or a little bit more seamless, rather. Sentiment analysis is a big one that a lot of people, I'm sure, have probably seen, whether that be, analyzing reports with clients to generate stoplight reports, or even just day-to-day in emails. There are a lot of plugin tools for Outlook and Gmail that'll do this for you. And then the classic one that's been being used for a long time is reading applicants for jobs, for instance, and pairing those with a listing, for example. And then, like I mentioned before, dictation tools can make data entry a lot easier, especially as dictation tools have become a lot more powerful just in the past couple of years. I'm sure everyone has something on their phone that they use, right? Those have actually gotten quite good. And so we can leverage that in FileMaker perhaps to speed up some data entry processes. Generative AI, like I mentioned before, that's generating new content, usually from a prompt. So this is what has really exploded in the past 1 or 2 years. Think of your ChatGPTs, your Perplexities. We'll show some examples of this here in just a minute, but generating reports based on natural language. We'll actually show you a specific example of this. Creating drafts of different deliverables that you might have, right? So creating a draft of a proposal from maybe a non-technical user's description, maybe a salesperson, right? Is one big use case there. Sentiment analysis here again, but that being paired with some type of generative AI that can help you improve what you're sending. And then an internal assistant will show you an example of this, right, to help train users, inform users, even just make some of your more laborious tasks easier, right? And we'll show you an example of this in just a moment. Chatbots for customer support is an example of generative AI. You're taking a combination of prompts that you set up to tell the AI how to act with, what you could technically consider prompts from customers to give information on product offerings, to answer frequently asked questions, just deal with a lot of things that maybe humans don't have time for, or time could be spent doing other things. Coding copilots are another big one, especially for developers. I know just over half of us in here are developers. In particular with web viewers, the tools aren't quite there yet with the FileMaker script engine. I mean, I can actually show you a brief demonstration of this. We have just a class here that we're using for a project. If any of you use GitHub Copilot, these tools have become really powerful just in the past few months. So if I want to say, write some comments to explain how to use the class below. Again, this isn't in FileMaker, but you can see how this saves a lot of time just in the development process. So if you're doing in the FileMaker realm, if you're doing any significant development in web viewers, Copilot has been a huge resource for me, and I'm sure it could be for you. Looking forward, possibly in FileMaker itself. So just want to do a quick demonstration there. And then predictive AI is the last kind of broader category we'll go through. I kind of mentioned this a little bit before. Automatic quote AI based on sales call notes. This predictive AI is taking historic data and making future predictions. Oh, Mark, apologies for not explaining that. Copilot is usually Microsoft's branding for AI tools. GitHub Copilot is what I just showed you. I probably should have gone into that a little bit deeper. So automatic quote generation is an example of predictive AI. We're using historic quotes combined with sales call notes to make predictions about future quotes um, based on unseen sales call notes for the model, right? So doing some automatic generation. Personalized product recommendations for users. We've had some form of this algorithmically for a long time, but AI has really revolutionized the way companies are able to make predictions, product recommendations to their customers. Scoring leads is a large one, especially if you've familiar with the Salesforce space at all. Uh, Predicting what the likelihood of success with leads and things like that, and even things like customer churn. Demand forecasting is another one in a similar vein. A lot of these are there's a lot of potential for predictive AI in kind of CRM type systems. Even optimizing routes for field service businesses. So making the fastest routes, maybe and cutting down on field service windows is a big use case for some of these predictive AI tools. And then automatically predicting product issues from customer warranty claims. Again, this is a kind of an outward-facing use of a predictive AI tool. And then before we jump into the demos in FileMaker, I'll just run through quickly just some improvements we've seen in FileMaker over the past few months that make some of these demos possible and make integrations a little bit easier. Claris has made integrations with the LLMs pretty easy, whether that be OpenAI or Claude or any kind of LLM outside the default. Claris has new script steps, new tools that make that quite easy, and you'll see an example of that in just a minute. Like I said, function calling is a technology on top of LLMs that you'll see in just a second that can help LLMs perform functions inside your FileMaker system and not just answer basic questions. Semantic search is another feature that's been added in FileMaker in recent months. It allows you to perform finds, if you're familiar with that in FileMaker, just based on natural language, whether that be documents or records. There's a lot of really cool things we can do with semantic search. And then OCR tools isn't necessarily related to updates in FileMaker, but you'll see examples of that here. They're really useful for interpreting company documentation, anything that's not just text or database records, right? Whether that be images or PDFs. And you'll see some demos here in just a moment. All right, so with that, I'm going to get off of the PowerPoint and we will jump into a couple demonstrations we have here in FileMaker. So this is a version of our free to download FileMaker starter app. It's just called FM Quick Start. I've added some AI tools to this that I'll show you in just a second. This first set of tools I'm going to show you isn't going to be available in a download, but I'll show you something cool at the end here that will be available in our next release of FileMaker Quick Start. So I will hit Control-1 here. That's just my shortcut to open the Quick Start Assistant here. A lot of you have probably seen a similar interface to this, whether it be ChatGPT or something similar. The difference with this tool here is I can actually instruct it to do things in the FileMaker app that hopefully save some time. So if I want to say add contacts John and Jane Doe to the company IFDG Inc. So I can send that message. The assistant's going to think about it. It's going to automatically recognize what I want, and it's not just going to give me a text response. You'll see here, it's actually going to it's going to understand what I mean, create the contacts, and also create the company if it's not there. So this is kind of an expansion on some of those generative AI tools. We're actually giving it some insight into the FileMaker file and letting it perform actions that normally users would perform. Another cool thing we can do is have it interpret company documentation we upload. So I have a section in setup where we can upload documents into here, and it's going to automatically read those documents, and it's going to become part of the knowledge base of the assistant. So if I say to the assistant, what are the steps to, say, installing FileMaker server on a Mac? I can send that. It's going to automatically recognize that I'm asking about documentation. So you'll think for just a second here. It's going to answer my question, and then you'll see there's a little paperclip that pops up here. It went and found the document that contains that information. It answered my question, and I can continue to chat with the assistant, but it also just shows me where it got that data if I want to download that document and read it. And then one final just example of what we can kind of do with this type of technology here. If I want to say, let's say, summarize our we'll summarize our contacts with the client. Let's say I just want a quick update on one of our contacts. We'll say Joe Blake. So Joe Blake has a few customer notes in here that were made on various dates. I come back here and say summarize our contacts with Joe Blake. Again, it's just going to think for just a second here. It's going to recognize that I'm not just asking it a question. I want to actually pull information from the system, and it can actually give me an answer based on the notes in the system. So I'll just pause there for a second so you can see that it's summarizing that. And then if we go back to the contact, you can see it's actually a pretty good summary of what we have in those notes fields here. So this is, all of this is using a technology called function calling, if you're familiar with that. I won't go too deep into the nitty gritty of that, but suffice it to say, we can expand this to kind of general processes like I showed you, but there's also the capability of doing kind of business specific processes that might be unique to your system. And yes, it does save chat history. So if you see here, I'm creating a new thread, it'll actually save my threads. So I could go back and select these and it'll save my context. I can also do things like you would have with a normal chatbot, and we can restrict this if you don't want people asking random questions. But if I say like, what is the capital of France? It works similarly to any other one of these chat systems. So it's going to automatically recognize when I'm just asking it a question and when I want it to do something in the system. So that's kind of that demo here. Like I said, this won't be available for download, but another cool thing I'm going to show you here in just a second will be available for download in our next version of FileMaker Quick Start. So this is just another version of the same file. In our reports generator here, we actually have the ability to create custom charts that we don't have to teach it in a script. So this would be your non-technical users can come in here and generate some reports without having to bother a developer. So a lot of this is built around a CRM system with contacts and leads and companies. Let's say I'm a manager and I just want a at a glance brief description of all of the types of companies I have in the system. So show me a bar chart that organizes or that shows companies by, oh, if we find with typos, by industry. Oh, so yeah, a little bit of a hiccup there, but you'll see it actually thought I meant status. So it'll show you the approved and pending status of different things. But let's see if there's a better one here. Show me, let's see, my leads by type. My leads, or show me a bar chart by type. Oh, there might be. Oh, it looks like there's an error communicating with the API. So I'll skip that for now. But you'll be able to demo this in our next kind of upcoming version of Quick Start. So we'll go back to the presentation here. Let's see. And basically, we showed a bunch of things there, along with some things we mentioned in the PowerPoint that we didn't show in the demo. But if you're looking to, if anything that you saw interested you and you're looking to implement something similar to this in your FileMaker system, feel free to contact us at DB Services, and we'd be happy to have a consultation with you about how all this works. And just we're obviously a 7-time Claris Growth Partner of the Year. We're adept with FileMaker development, but we're also an AWS and Salesforce partner. If you have web tools that go beyond the capabilities of FileMaker, we have a dedicated web team in-house that deals with those requests. We're also a Salesforce partner. So if you or someone you know is looking for someone to help you out with your Salesforce work, also feel free to contact us on our website. All
Awesome.
right.
Okay. Um, thank you so much, Sam. We're going to go ahead and move into our Q&A session here. If you have any other questions that you haven't already submitted, please go ahead and send them in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we will try to get to as many as we can here. We do have a little bit of time left, so we should be able to get to all of your questions. So the first question that I know some people in the chat have been asking, which I can answer, is will the recording be available? Yes, it will be available. You should get an email in the next couple days and it'll have a link to the recording. So yes, that will be available for everyone for replay. The next question I have here is, did this demo use ChatGPT?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is a product that OpenAI puts out that uses their chat completion models on the back end. So in essence, yes, it uses the same models that ChatGPT uses for OpenAI. That being said, the methods for doing those are kind of platform agnostic. So I could have plugged in Claude to answer some of those questions, right? I even have, you'll see up here on my machine here, I have Ollama installed. I could use an open source LLM that isn't going to send my data anywhere. I didn't use Ollama for this demonstration because I needed something a little more powerful than would run on my laptop, but you can use any basic LLM platform to do the same things that I just showed.
Awesome. Okay. And then there were quite a few questions about the Quick Start Assistant. I think people really liked that demo. The first one was, how do you evaluate the performance of the Quick Start Assistant?
Yeah, so this was this was on a local file rather than a hosted file. So you'll see we would have some advantages on a hosted file. You saw like the file transferring that you get when you use the insert URL script step. We'd probably move that to server going forward. But I guess to answer your question a little bit more specifically, the performance is mainly going to hinge off of the model that you use. So if you're using a more advanced model like GPT-4 or even some of the O1 preview, that's going to take a little bit longer. If you're using a simpler model like 3.5 turbo or something like that, it's going to run a little bit quicker. We don't have any specific statistics about performance of that assistant, but it's really going to depend on what kind of queries you're doing, how complex the actions you're trying to take are, and also just how capable you want to make your assistant.
Great. Okay, and then the next question too was also about the Quick Start Assistant. Is there any logic to confirm that it is not adding a duplicate due to a slight misspelling? I'm guessing that's like adding contacts or companies.
Yeah, so it won't add duplicate companies or contacts with an exact spelling. This is a simplistic demo. If you slightly misspell it, there's a possibility it will add a duplicate in this demo. That being said, there are a lot of tools you could use to mitigate that. You could look at the substitution distance of company names and contact names to see if the substitution distance is 3 or under, just assume it's the existing contact, right? So the answer to that, in short, is not in this demo, but there are a lot of simple tools you could implement to make that the case.
Cool. Okay. And then we have another one about the Quick Start Assistant. Um, Are these features available to use on a PC instead of a Mac?
Yes, yep. So none of this is Mac specific. This is all within FileMaker. So if you're running FileMaker on Windows, the assistant will work just as well on Windows as it does on Mac.
Awesome. Okay. And then also about the Quick Start Assistant, how do you deal with images or tables?
So uh, kind of the same way we deal with them in scripts. So if you'll see, I can actually show you. I'll reopen this here. How I give the Quick Start Assistant capabilities. Like I said, it uses a technology called function calling, and I've actually added those here. So you'll see it can respond normally without calling a function if it just wants to do some basic uh, text generation. But these are all of the things that I've enabled it to do. And you can add or subtract these. You can see there's an option for making it callable by the Quick Start Assistant. You'll see there's two types of functions. There's semantic functions, which are basically just canned prompts. So if you have a prompt that you like that does something specific, you would create a semantic function to do it. When we're dealing with things like images and tables, we'd use what we're calling in here a native function, which means it's actually using FileMaker scripting to perform some of those tasks that's controllable by the assistant. So for search documentation, we need to go into the documentation table and search relevant records. How we do that is we give the AI the ability to call a script. So we tell it what the script does, and then we give it a script ID, and it can go in and use that script to perform some of its functions. So the AI itself isn't touching your tables and your pictures. It's just instructing the script on how to manipulate them, if that makes sense.
Okay, great. And then someone also asked, do we host our own AI server?
Yeah, so for the purposes of this demo, this was just using OpenAI's chat completion model, the same ones you could go in and hook your account up to. Like I mentioned before, I've tested this with uh, uh, Microsoft, or I'm sorry, Meta's open source Llama that I can download onto my laptop and run. There are bigger versions of that that are probably not smart to run on my laptop that you could probably run in an AWS implementation if you needed something that was just specific to your organization. Um, and all of these methods would work with that implementation. But for what I showed today, I was using OpenAI's chat completion models.
Okay, great. And then we did have someone ask if you could show what the script looks like for some of these.
Yeah, specifically about the functions or what part? Obviously, there's a lot of scripts in here, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So let's see. I know that question was from Peter. So Peter, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, feel free. And then for now, we'll move on to the next question and we can always come back to that.
Sounds good.
Um, so the next one is, um, are these scripts going to break as these AI models evolve?
Likely not, and it's because the way that the LLM is responding is based on a prompt. So if as long as the LLM is capable of responding in a similar way to a prompt, then as the AI models improve, it's not going to change the way that this function works. So I can say back when 3.5 Turbo was the best model we had a few months ago, I had a similar system, and this is now using, I think, 4.0 or zero 04, basically one of the newer versions of the chat completion model. So it's as long as your prompts are sound, the improving LLM, as long as it's not like some kind of specialized LLM that's meant for different purposes, is generally going to perform the same and probably even better if the model's more powerful.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then we did get some clarification on which script. Um, it was um, the chat assistant and how to create a contact record with
Yeah,
the quick start assistant.
yeah. So yeah, I'll do a brief summary of that. As you can imagine, it gets a little bit in the weeds here, but You'll see, like I mentioned before, these are the functions that the assistant can perform. The create contact and create company, those are what we are calling native functions. So they're leveraging scripts. So you can see here, we have a script attached to this function and some parameters. So we, for a contact, we need to know the name of the contact and the company name. Obviously, we could put in, a million different other things about the contact if we wanted to. And similarly with create company, let me open script workspace here, and I'll show you what one of those functions looks like. And you'll find that it's actually really, really simple. So for creating a customer, it's really just we're looking for the customer, and if it exists, then we're returning the ID. If not, then we're just creating the customer. And same with a similar system with the contact. Again, these are like very, very simple scripts. This is level 0 of how you would do this. But you can see it's really more about allowing the assistant to take advantage of your scripts rather than making really complicated scripting logic. Now, in terms of how the AI knows which scripts to run, we won't go too deep into that, but I can show you the log that we're calling these OpenAI endpoints. We're calling a planning function. So basically, we're telling it how to respond to the customer query, and then it's returning a plan. So if I say, let me go back to the one where well, you can get the point on any of these, but basically it's returning something like this where it's saying you're asking a question, and in the case of creating the customer contact, based on that prompt, it would return that we want to create a customer, create a contact, or search documentation. That's how kind of we're getting it to understand what action we want to take.
Okay, cool. And then I know they were also interested in seeing a little bit of the back end for the charts. I know we were having a couple issues with that one.
Yeah, I won't.
With the API. So
Yeah, I think I just got a message from another developer here. I think our OpenAI account ran out of tokens, but I'll just explain how that works in short. Is basically we're providing the AI model. Again, these are not trained AI models. These are the same models that you can use with your own API keys right now. We're providing the AI model with a structure of the database. We're telling it these are your tables, these are the fields, and then we're giving it the query and saying write an SQL query based on these. Based on the structure of the database we've given you and the question, and then we have some logic in FileMaker that can take that SQL query, run it, take the resulting data, and turn it into a chart.
gotcha. Okay, and then kind of going off of that, and someone did ask, how is the OpenAI API metered? Excuse me. Is there a set number of tokens per month? And
Yeah,
then can they report on, sorry, I know this is a lot of questions in one,
you're
but
fine.
can they report on like your subscription limits?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that, OpenAI is really good about, and I would imagine a lot of these other organizations too, but I'll speak to OpenAI because that's what I'm most familiar with. They're pretty good about giving individuals and organizations tools to manage their tokens and things like that, right? So I can set a monthly budget. I can set a monthly budget like I believe in an organizational setting, you can set monthly budgets per user, I believe. But yeah, you can just go on OpenAI's website and they have a lot of really intuitive tools for managing your tokens, just so you're not blowing out your budget in a really short amount of time. That being said, a lot of these models are actually pretty cheap, so it's unlikely you're going to run up a huge bill unless you're running thousands of things through it automatically.
Awesome. Okay. And then we've got a couple more here. Someone asked, I think this is also for the Quick Start Assistant actions, why you would not use keywords.
Um,
I'm not exactly
keywords
sure
for
what
what?
that means. So let's see if Jonathan, if you could just give a little bit more context to that question, that would be awesome, and we can see if we can get
Oh,
that answered for
for
you.
the actions, I think I can actually answer that.
Okay,
So
awesome.
Jonathan, you can use keywords. One advantage of the way we've set this up is that the functions can actually be run sequentially. So we're not just running one function at a time. So you saw for the contacting customers, I created a contact and then I created two customers. So we can identify the function with a keyword, but sending the plan to the AI is going to be a lot better in situations like that where we need to do multiple things. And this system can even take the output of one function and feed it into the next function. So again, I'll go back to that log and you can kind of see the plan that they generated. You'll see when I asked it to create that company and multiple contacts, the plan was multiple functions. So it was create a company and then feed that company name into the create contact and then again create another contact. So if we were just using the keyword, say contact to create a contact, it might know to do one, but it's not going to understand more complex asks, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, a couple more. Um, and I can answer this one. Someone's asking where they can download the Quick Start Assistant. They downloaded from Quick Start version 24. So correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but the Quick Start Assistant is not in FM Quick Start. That is a
That's
separate
correct.
thing that we've built just for this demo. Um, it will have the chart capability in
That's correct.
version 25, um,
Correct.
which is coming soon. It's set to release in the next couple weeks. So that will be available to the public in a few weeks.
Yep, that's right.
And then, okay, so follow-up question to the API usage limits.
Mhm.
Um, can FileMaker manage all the API usage and limits, or do you have to log into OpenAI separately and check your account?
So I know when you're making a call to OpenAI for chat completion, anything like that, you can set a token limit per call. So I can say, you know, uh, generate an answer for this question. Don't use more than 100 tokens or something like that. Um, I don't know, and you'll have to forgive me. I don't know what kind of tools we have in terms of OpenAI's endpoints to manage limits and things like that. I'd have to look into that, but I know per call you can manage a limit for like a specific question or a specific check completion. Oh,
Great.
actually, someone just messaged me here. There's a function in FileMaker that will actually let you count tokens. So FileMaker, Claris has implemented a feature in FileMaker to help you manage that. So that's also a tool that is available to you.
Awesome. Um, okay, well, if there are any more questions, please get them in the chat now. I think we've gotten to all of the questions that we've received so far. So if no one has anything else, we can go ahead and wrap it up. But please feel free to contact us at service@dbservices.com if you think of anything else, or if you are interested in implementing that chat assistant into your system, we'd be more than happy to help with that. So please reach out to us if you are interested in that. And I just want to thank Sam for joining us today and sharing all his expertise, and then thank all of you for joining us today and for all your questions. Um, and then we are also having another webinar on December 11th, and that will be about integrating web forms with FileMaker. So you can register with the QR code on the screen, and we'll see you there hopefully. And thank you very much. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.